welcome back. This is part 2 of Turbo Datsun build. We've got our rising rate fuel pressure regulator. I keep saying high pressure fuel pump instead of regulator. Let me show you what we got going on. We've now got our boost controller mounted up and ready to go. We have a turbo blanket on the turbo now to help keep heat down. We've got all our silicone hoses and everything that we're going to need to get this thing running and driving. And then our downpipes down there, I got the adapter for it. I've also got the new V-band for the turbo itself. When you're routing a Turbo Smart wastegate, I had a little bit of trouble finding online how to do this because there's a bunch of different options. But if you can see, there are two fittings. Don't know if you can see that. One on the top of the hat, one on the bottom. The bottom is going to go from your boost controller, and that's going to be your diaphragm for the wastegate, to the wastegate, and then to manifold pressure, or to turbo pressure if you have a fitting on your turbo. This one does not, so we have to go off manifold. And then we are getting ready to plumb everything together to put the mass airflow in line before the turbo, after the turbo, but before the throttle body. After that, we got to mount this guy over there on that side of the engine bay to regulate our fuel pressure, and when it sees boost, it'll increase fuel pressure. So what we need to do now is figure out the best way to route this. It's going to be somewhere along the return line, and then I need to pull the stock fuel pressure regulator off and put a T in place of that. And then after we do that, we'll get this mounted up, put all the hoses on, and get things ready to go. We've now got everything plumbed up. I need some more worm clamps before I can make boost. And then we've got our fuel system all taken care of. I don't really like how this sits, but this fuel pressure regulator is great. I just need to find a way to be able to see that as well, so I can adjust it. After dealing with leaks, fuel system is tied up. That needs clamps, and then we're good to go there. And then just going over vacuum lines and stuff, making sure everything is tight, and then we can work on the exhaust side of things, get that buttoned up. So I'm gonna go ahead and try and scrounge up some more worm clamps so I can get the intake side and boost pressure side of things tied up and not have to worry about it anymore. And then after that, we'll move on to exhaust. So I still need 2 more worm clamps for these silicone hoses. I'm having a little bit of trouble getting this on by myself, but that won't be an issue with 2 sets of hands. I've got my vacuum routed from the intake manifold right there over around the fuel rail to try and keep it as clean as possible, since there's a lot going on right now, to the rising rate fuel pressure regulator. And then that's all plumbed up, everything's tightened, and really need the exhaust side done and those 2 hose clamps, and then we'd be good to take an easy test drive around the block, try and hit a little bit of boost, and make sure that our fuel pressure is right where we need it to be. I just got off work, and it is time for some Datsun stuff, because it is turboed now, and it runs and it drives, but it runs lean. And yeah. But first, I'm gonna crack me open a beverage. Oh yes. Okay, here's what's going on. At least here's what I think is going on. I think the stock injectors, and I've been doing a little bit of research, these do not flow very much, like at all. I think it's a 165 cc injector or 185 cc injector, and that's just not gonna cut it. Our fuel pressure regulator is working great. I can manage fuel. For the amount of boost I'm hitting, this is fine. And my fuel pump is fine, I should say. That would be fine for a lot more power than what we're making. I need to find a better sort of solution for for these. I also partially think that my hose clamp is bad because it kind of spins sometimes it catches. The downpipe and everything down here is great. Heat management wise, as far as keeping it away from our brake line, this is working out great. The headers or the turbo manifold is heat soaking our intake a teeny bit. So if anybody has any ideas, I don't want to wrap it because it's super pretty and discolored and it's great to look at, but if I end up having to wrap it, I guess I will. So for the time being, problem number one is our injectors. I just don't think that they're cutting it for the amount of air that is getting pushed into the motor. Even at 8 psi, I don't think they're handling it. I pulled a plug yesterday and we are very, very lean, which is no bueno. If you guys don't know what happens when you run lean, you run hot, you get more knock and things pre-detonate and you blow motors and it's no bueno. On the other side of that, the flip side, if you run too rich, you end up washing your cylinder walls out and spin bearings because fuel's getting into your oil system and you lose compression, this, that, and the other. So neither option is great. I shouldn't say that that's an option because it's not. We're going to dial it in. I've got 280ZX turbo injectors on the way. They are good for up to about 12 psi. We're only running 8 psi, so we should be well within the threshold for our fuel system. It should all be primo. I need to pull the fuel injector rail off now and our new rail. So it's a whole new rail that I got with the injectors. It's the 280ZX turbo rail and injectors. They're brown top injectors. They flow 265-ish cc. So we'll be replacing our stock injectors with those. Hopefully we will run richer, not rich, but richer. If I'm a teensy bit on the rich side, that's fine. I don't want to be like a 10-to-1 ratio, and like I said, what happens when you get too rich? Things wash out, spin bearings, this, that, and the other. So this all has to come off, and that's pretty much it. It's not too bad to pull the fuel rail off. I just have to remove that 12 millimeter and then a bunch of Phillips heads that hold in the injectors and the injector clips or retainers, whatever you'd like to call them. I need to cut my zip ties and then remove one bolt there and another bolt on the other side and some hose clamps, and this all just pulls out. I am super stoked that the car's running and that it's actually making boost, but now I deal with the problems which I knew would be coming, just now I'm dealing with them, so it's not as fun. But I will leave off this video with a clip of the Datsun running and driving. It's my wife and I in the Datsun for the first drive, and I will put that here. But first, thank you all for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoy the next couple videos and the last video that happened. It seems like you guys are responding pretty well to the Datsun content as far as it getting boosted and turbocharged. If you have any questions, I mean, feel free to comment and I will do my best to answer. So like, comment, subscribe, guys, and I will see you next time.
This is me documenting.
First drive.
The camera is dirty.
You can hear the turb ski a little bit. Turbo. I'm gonna back up because
why?
Right now the turbo does not have a filter or any sort of covering over it, so if I suck up a rock, it's a very bad day.
We're in the wrong neighborhood.
good?